Hi, listeners. We want to tell you about a podcast we're really digging. It's called Christopher Kimball's Milk Street Radio. Every week, they travel the world to find the most fascinating stories about food, including children who harvest cod tongues after school in Norway and a detective who tracks down food thieves. And on Milk Street Radio, you can always find the unexpected. The comedian who ranks apples using an elaborate 100-point system, the secret history of grocery stores, and how to eat your way through Italy. They also interview the most beloved names in food like Jacques Pepin, Sola Aweli, Jose Andres, Jet Tila, Ina Garten, Nigella Lawson, and Padma Lakshmi. Plus, co-hosts Christopher Kimball and Sarah Moulton do live calls with listeners and answer their questions about ingredients, techniques, and culinary mysteries. Like, why roasting a leg of lamb made one caller's oven explode? Ever wonder why your bread won't rise or your souffle falls flat? Chris and Sarah have the answers. You'll also hear from a rotating cast of contributors, including Kenji Lopez-Alt, Cheryl Day, Dan Pashman from The Sporkful, and Alex Ainuz, a French guy cooking from YouTube. Take a listen at 177milkstreet.com/radio or just search your podcast app for Milk Street Radio. You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything. Westholme is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Learn more at westholme.com.
I'm Allison Kane, and welcome to In the Sauce, a podcast about building consumer brands from the ground up. I love doing this show because I get to interview everyone from production gurus to marketing and social media mavens, anyone who can guide me on this crazy journey. This is the story of building Haven's Kitchen sauces, but it's also the story of every growing brand because we're all in the sauce. Today, I'm speaking with Graham Edward, the head of Emerging Brand Partnerships and Canada Brand Partnerships at Instacart. Graham oversees a team helping up-and-coming challenger brands grow on Instacart, as well as a team scaling Instacart's advertising offering in the Canadian market. Graham is an expert in the digital advertising space, working with agencies and brands alike. Prior to Instacart, Graham spent over 7 years helping to scale Amazon advertising as Director of Canadian Brand Partnerships, as well as several years at Microsoft Advertising. Hi, Graham.
Hey, Ali. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I feel like I'm getting to the horse's mouth. I guess that makes you the horse in this scenario, but I know brands are excited about Instacart. I've had, our agency, Eleanor, who's amazing, on here. We've talked about retail media. I want to hear, I really feel like it's a missed opportunity for a lot of brands, and they know that there's something to be done there, but I feel like this is going to be so helpful for my listeners. So I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you.
I love it.
Okay, so we're going to get right into it. I guess shopping on Instacart, let's just start there. It's different from the way that you shop in a store. And I think it's taken the last several years for people to really start to tease apart the difference between like shopping behavior in store and shopping behavior online. And I guess my question starting off with, what are the insights, I guess, that you have, and how have Instacart used those insights to develop the platform so that it makes it easier for consumers to buy what they want, but also for brands to be effective when they're spending on the platform?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. And shopping on Instacart is different than shopping in a physical grocery store. I mean, when you think about it, just when you enter a physical grocery store, when you walk the aisles, you're going to have hundreds, maybe thousands of products in view. Whereas when consumers shop in our marketplace, the vast majority are doing so on their app or on their mobile device, where their field of view, may only be a handful of different products, but it's just as important to stand out. Now, that said, there are also a lot of similarities between how consumers shop on Instacart and shop in store. Instacart consumers, they're full basket shoppers. They're and I say this in contrast, perhaps to a more pure play e-commerce store.
Right.
And you can think about your own shopping habits here. Whereas, if you're entering a pure play e-commerce store, it's likely you're there on let's say a very purpose-driven trip mission. Mm-hmm. So you're there to fulfill a very specific need. You're going to buy, a phone charger or a pair of shoes, or maybe something that's out of stock, but you're in and out. Whereas, the Instacart customer, they're building baskets, and they're building baskets in much the same way they do in the offline world. So they're adding 16 to 20 items per trip. They're purchasing from a dozen different categories, searching by very broad category terms, browsing different discovery surfaces. They are they're walking the virtual aisles, and so as a brand, you've got an opportunity to engage these Instacart customers, to build awareness and to reinforce your availability. As many consumers are there actively completing that weekly trip occasion for a busy household, that full basket shop, or maybe even stocking up for a family get together on a long weekend.
Do you know, just off the top of your head, if people tend to shop from the same store when they go shopping, or are they do they go by the brand that they want, or do they play around?
I mean, certainly we know that our consumers have local retailers that they know and that they trust. And that's part of what brings them to Instacart. Now, when they enter the marketplace, they have an opportunity to go to those trusted retailers, but also to experience so much more. And that's part of our challenge, and part of our opportunity is to introduce consumers not just to new retailers, but new brands within the marketplace as well.
Right. Which is a really good way to tee it up, because I speak to a lot of founders and marketing and salespeople at emerging brands, obviously. And I think a lot of them want to be on there. I'm not sure that they know how to capitalize on the opportunity. So I guess two parts of the question. One, I know that this is your bread and butter. So why is it so effective for CPG brands that are up and coming to be on Instacart?
Great question.
And B, is there a very sort of basic playbook that you can walk me through, where if someone doesn't necessarily have the gift of having a Hayden consultancy, but they're trying to figure out the bidding and the keywords and the ads and everything themselves, where a resource could be for them, and maybe some high level sort of stuff. So one, why is it so effective for emerging brands?
Sure. Yeah, we'll get into both of them. I guess as a starting point, Instacart customers, they are open to discovery. Mm-hmm. And we've asked our customers this, and they've validated it over and over again. They've shared in a consumer survey just in the past 3 months that almost half of them have discovered a new brand on Instacart. And nearly 80% of those customers went on to purchase that brand. If you pause, it makes sense when you think about it. And for me, from a consumer's perspective, finding products in brick and mortar stores can be difficult. I think of my wife here, like many, she's got certain dietary preferences. She's got a sensitivity to milk products, to gluten. Mm-hmm. And even today, with so many options, it can be challenging for her to find products that meet her needs in store. Yep. You have to step across multiple aisles. You're picking up a lot of boxes and reading them. Mm-hmm. Or often it's just easier to default to the product she already knows.
Right.
Now, when you contrast that to Instacart, where you can actually input your dietary preferences, or you can actively search for products that are dairy-free or gluten-free, finding products can be easy. And actually finding those products on Instacart, maybe that even informs your offline decisions in the future.
Totally.
Now, just to flip to the other side of the coin, from an emerging brands perspective, I'm sure you can attest to this. It can be hard. It can be hard to stand out at brick and mortar stores. As an emerging brand, you likely don't have your ideal placements, or maybe you're not even in the right aisles or where you think or believe you belong in a retailer's planogram. And so when you think about the Instacart marketplace for emerging brands, Instacart really democratizes the shelf space. Emerging brands have the opportunity to show up throughout that consumer shopping journey, a journey that's going to be personalized for every consumer based upon their shopping history, what's in their basket, or maybe even those dietary preferences that they've input.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, I think sometimes we feel a little frustrated that there just aren't more easy levers to pull when everyone knows, you get on the shelf. That's not when you ring the bell. That's not when you celebrate. It's getting pulled off the shelf by people who are putting you into their carts. A lot of times, I think, especially when they're like EDLP accounts, it's hard for emerging brands because we can't demo, we can't promote, there's no in-store signage. You're just kind of there. And you're hoping that people, like you said, discover you, even if you're on like the lower third of the shelf or whatever it is. So just imagining the opportunity to be kind of right on someone's screen. There's no bottom of the shelf, but there probably is some sort of an equivalent, which is where you get into how to capitalize on that opportunity.
And that's it. That's it, right? And
right.
That's why emerging brands really love Instacart. That's kind of the magic of Instacart for these emerging brands is one, they've got the opportunity to get that premium shelf space in their primary aisle, or maybe even get outside of their aisle into an adjacent aisle where they believe or they know they belong. And the magic really is when a consumer completes an order, when they purchase that item, those items are picked directly from the shelves of a local retailer. And so what we see, the most successful emerging brands is they're leaning on Instacart, not just to drive online sales, but they're leaning on Instacart to accelerate their in-store sales, to make sure that they're showing up well in their category, that they're showing up well with their buyers. To your point, we hear from so many emerging brands that getting on the shelf, that's really just the beginning of the journey. It's moving your products off the shelf where the work really begins. And that's where Instacart can really help.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk, part B.
Part B.
Let's do it. How do you recommend we get started? What are the features that, we can really make the most use out of? What does success look like, I guess?
Totally. Well, as a starting point, if you're an emerging grocery brand, whether you're in 100 stores or 1,000 stores or 10,000 stores, we have tools that work for you at Instacart. We build scalable ad solutions that are retail aware, enabling brands of all sizes to engage with their customers throughout that shopping journey that we discussed on our Instacart marketplace. So as a starting point, I would encourage you to visit ads.instacart.com. It's ads.instacart.com. And we'd have a representative from our team, folks who are passionate about working with emerging brands, reach out to you. Now, out of the gate, we would work with you as a brand to ensure that your catalog, your product imagery, your digital shelf represents your brand to the greatest extent. Now, for many brands, this may include us actually creating a dedicated brand page on Instacart, a customizable landing destination where you as a brand can really tell your story and merchandise your portfolio in a way that's retailer agnostic, which many brands love, but also retailer aware and fully shoppable. Now, all of this is going to be done in Ads Manager, which is our self-service, brand partner portal. And once you have your digital shelf in order, as a brand in this portal, you're introduced to our objective-based buying framework. It's a way that we organize and simplify ad formats and campaign setup. So, say for example, your emerging brands, Your goal is to maximize sales, make sense for emerging brand, right? You want to move products off shelves. You'll have the opportunity to build a sponsored product campaign right away to raise the visibility of your UPCs across search and discovery services, across retailers, any retailers in the Instacart marketplace, wherever your products are available and in stock. And then within that same framework, if you select optimized bidding, the platform is going to dynamically adjust your bids against the keywords and the audiences in order to deliver against your business objectives, your campaign goals that you've input as yourself as a brand. So all of this is very much automated. These are simplified workflows that were designed very much with emerging brands goals in mind. Certainly, we know and we appreciate that as an emerging brand partner, the person who's responsible for the e-commerce may also be, the head of sales or the head of marketing. You get it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is great because a lot of us are sort of wearing many, many hats. I think one of the questions I want to ask before we go into the break, speaking of your goals, right? So we've all heard, ROAS, right? That's the return on your ad spend. And that is very much a sales metric. But, it also seems like there are other ways to think about Instacart, like awareness building or, ideas. One of the things that I think we like about it a lot is that you can show people how to use it in a way that you can't in store. So can you explain just a couple of different, yes, we for sure selling the product is like prime, but I guess how should we really think about the different metrics that we use to measure success and what do they kind of like tie themselves to?
Sure. I mean, this is one of the other additional things we hear from emerging brands that's exciting that they appreciate about Instacart. At Instacart, we're able to offer brands all of the good of what they've now kind of come to expect from digital advertising platforms. Things like that closed loop measurement, some of those metrics, performance-based buying models, behavioral targeting capabilities. You're able to leverage these digital tools to drive, in-store sales, to drive growth in those physical stores. So, some of these terms that you shared, things like, return on ad spend, cost per click, CPM, attributed sales from, sales from folks who have engaged with your ad. These all just become kind of part of the lexicon. Simply put, return on ad spend is a measure of ad attributed revenue, product sales per dollar spent on advertising, and certainly, we do see brands use this as a measure of efficiency. Perhaps not a goal in and of itself, but a yardstick that they can use to optimize against. In the online world, as in the offline world, brands are measuring success based upon their larger business objectives. So as a whole, yes, are my sales growing? But it's also, am I outpacing my category? Or through Instacart, am I outpacing other channels as well? Beyond that, as I'm sure you can attest to, it's am I acquiring new customers? Am I penetrating new households? And in doing so, am I accelerating my in-store velocities? It comes back to that question: is I've got this shelf space. How do I keep this shelf space, and how do I expand this shelf space? These are all metrics that are available to brands so that they're able to measure success on Instacart. And off Instacart as well. Like when we see the most successful emerging brands that we were working with today, they're not looking at Instacart as an isolated marketing tactic or even an isolated sales channel. They're looking at Instacart as an opportunity to be able to grow their brand, on and off Instacart, by driving discovery, by driving new household penetration, by introducing their great products to new consumers who can become lifetime customers.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, going back to, I mean, for us, we have one retailer where we really don't have particularly good placement. And honestly, I think the reason why we've stayed there is because of our Instacart numbers. Like our Instacart numbers must account for, I would say, certainly over half of our sales in that retailer. And it's just, I'm excited every time I think of someone like looking for us, having a hard time finding us, and that Instacart shopper, like making sure that they get us to put them in the bag. And I'm always like, please don't leave. Like, just keep looking, because it's hard sometimes to find us. So, I mean, I guess the team, the boots on the ground that are going to hunt for these products, they're doing God's work, I think, for us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. And again, that's one of the things that's so rewarding about working with so many emerging brands is we can see and we hear the impact that we're able to have on building their overall business.
Yeah,
and it's rewarding to be able to play a part in that.
For sure. Okay, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get a little bit deeper with what some of these things mean and how to maximize sales on Instacart. We'll be right back.
Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. In Northern Australia, there's a different approach to raising high-quality beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and Northern Territory, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. They look after a sweeping stretch of territory from Brisbane to Darwin, with a climate as varied as the landscape. Westholme raises Wagyu beef, but there's a saying that their real job is to grow grass, meaning that if they take care of the land, the rest will take care of itself. Westholme stewards 16 million acres of rangeland guided by their natural ecosystems. Westholme's team of rangeland experts and nature managers use a variety of tools to monitor and respond to the welfare of the environment, like satellites that assess grass health and on-the-ground research. Cattle are happier when they have the freedom to forage and explore, so Westholme ensures that they can roam wild, foraging at will for the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. Their cows graze on native grasses like Mitchell grass, which is only found in Australia, along with dozens of other plants, herbs, and seasonal legumes. The result is signature Australian Wagyu, built on a genetic lineage tracing back to Japan and imbued with the terroir of Northern Australia and a flavor suited to complement any cuisine. Westholme believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
I'm back with Graham Edward, Head of Emerging Brand Partnerships at Instacart. Okay, so we were talking about sort of different priorities within, from one brand, but I'm going to sort of toss ourselves as a real life example. So we have 2 different product lines, even though we are still a small emerging brand. One of the product lines has some real distribution on Instacart. We've been there for 4 years, but we also have this new aioli line. And I guess my question for you is, how would you advise sort of strategically, how we should think about the strategy for both different lines?
For sure. I like this. I like the challenge. I would say, out of the gate, as a new product, as a part of a very much growing brand, we would encourage you to set up a sponsored product campaign with an objective to acquire new customers. Sponsored product really is our workhorse. It's a baseline for all our advertisers as they launch new UPCs with the retail partners. Now, sponsored products does serve in search results, but it also serves across different discovery surfaces as well. Services like category aisles or impulse surfaces. And yes, true. It'll serve the customers, in their buy it again carousel as well to drive those repeat purchases. So, encourage you to use our new to brand optimized bidding algorithm Here, you're going to let the system really drive discovery, and by weighting delivery towards new customer cohorts. And as a bonus, when you're using optimized bidding, optimized towards these new to brand customers, this is naturally going to apply more visibility, more weight to delivery, to new points of distribution as they come online. Because those consumers, are more likely to be new to your brand. And we do, to your point, we know Havens already has some loyal, enthusiastic customers.
Yeah.
And there's a way we can certainly take advantage of that. So we can engage some of those consumers, who are already loving your brand. And we can do that with ad formats like shoppable display, which allow us to leverage the strength of your brand to cross merchandise your products, to highlight the best of both new and old, to introduce those new UPCs along those that are well established. Now, here's where we can really get creative, and where some of the strategy comes in partnership with your agency, is we can define audiences here based upon consumers' past shopping behavior, based upon the relationship that they have with your brand or your category. So have they purchased Havens products before? Or on the other hand, are they in your category, purchasing your category competitive set, not your products? And certainly, there's more that we can do to help build that awareness, to help drive that consideration and some more of those upper funnel metrics. So we can tell a story with ad units like shoppable video, and again, in a way that can cross merchandise your product portfolio. We also have some programmatic sampling solutions that are a way for us to introduce your product to consumers for the very first time.
In terms of the shoppable display, is that kind of what I'm talking about with, there's like this little picture of the aioli that pops up and you can click on it, or I think you said shoppable video. Is that where we're squeezing the aioli onto a sandwich and you can also click on that and buy it? Or is that what those two things mean?
Yeah, it sounds delicious when you say it like that.
Yeah.
Within the consumer shopping experience, as a consumer is building the basket, browsing aisles, either the aisle you're in or perhaps a complementary aisle where you belong. You've got the opportunity to serve rich images that help tell your brand story, as well as a carousel of products from within your portfolio. So they can add products to their cart directly from that shopping experience, that shopping ad unit. Likewise with the video example as well too. If you've got great brand assets, great videos, we want to showcase those as well. And so we can leverage that video as an opportunity to highlight your catalog in a way that is fully shoppable.
It's funny because we always talk about assets and liabilities and how they're often sort of the same thing, and one of the assets of us is that we go on other things, like condiments are not usually something you eat alone. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to show how we make something else better or saucier or more flavorful.
Totally.
It can also be challenging in the sense that, yes, I think people are looking for new condiments, but it's not as low stress or low stakes as like buying a new chip or a new bar or a new cookie. So being able, while people are shopping, to show them, here's a product, it makes your food better, here's exactly how you use it, and here's an idea for a recipe that you can just like make tonight for dinner, to me is just like a win-win, win-win, and that's hard to do in store because those demos are expensive. Yeah. And like, I'm not making chicken sandwiches necessarily doing demos in stores. So going back to, success stories, what I guess, what would you say, you start off with that, with, sort of the tools that you've built. Is there anything that brands might not know about that they should be leveraging, that you kind of want to say like, hey, everybody, make sure that you're leveraging this. Make sure that you use this. This is a capability that we have, or something maybe that's coming that we don't know about yet.
Well, we have built solutions specifically for emerging brands that we're super excited about. And so, certainly encourage you to explore some of those. I talked briefly about optimized bidding. You can think of this as an algorithm that dynamically is going to adjust your bids and the audiences and placements that you're serving against to optimize towards a goal that you set as an advertiser. Optimized bidding is able to dynamically adjust bids to maximize sales, which is super exciting and important for so many brands, of course. But also, as we touched upon earlier, we've also introduced some new optimized bidding algorithms that enable you to optimize towards new customer cohorts. So to actually kind of focus that spend and that growth against customer penetration, which is exciting.
Yeah, and probably saves some work on our end too, like trying to figure out how to bid and what to bid, which ones are best, I would imagine.
Totally. Yeah. That's it. Right. And, beyond that, many of the brands that we work with are Shopify merchants as well. We've actually, built an integration with Shopify to allow merchants to be able to sync their product catalog, as well as, pull in some of their ads data directly into their Shopify dashboards, which we know many brands are excited about. Oh, wow. Yeah. To our earlier discussions, we know that, it's a journey. Growing distribution is just a part of the journey. We certainly believe that Instacart data and insights can help brands tell a great story, can help emerging brands stand out. And so we introduced a capability called sell sheets to allow brands to easily showcase the best of your product catalog with insights reinforcing the success that you're seeing on Instacart. Now, these sell sheets are made available to our retailer network, to the over 1,500 retailers that we're working with today. And they can explore these sell sheets through a tool on their side they call Brand Explorer. Here, we're trying to certainly, empower brands to expand their distribution. We're also trying to help our retail partners, to get in front of that next great emerging brands, to put that on their shelves.
Is that just something like we can just do the sell sheet thing? Like, is it just there and it's like in our ad manager and we can just kind of, is there anything like we have to do to get that?
That's it. Yeah, it's super simple. It's right there within your ads manager tool set. The capability exists in as with all the tools we build for brands in a self-service fashion. And so, we're certainly excited about that. We know our retail partners are excited about that as well. At its core, Instacart is a retailer enabler. We build solutions for retailers, technology and services to empower them to meet their ever increasing expectations of their customers. Right. And so, this is just one more example of a solution that we're building for retailers, which, we see as a win-win-win for all parties.
Very cool. So for sort of to round out the discussion, I've seen amazing success stories of emerging brands leveraging Instacart, using it to, do all the things we talked about, whether it's like awareness or velocity growth or just pure sales. And I know that some of them are sort of out in the public and you can talk about them. So can you just give everyone a couple of success stories that will inspire us?
Awesome. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's hard to narrow down. There's so many great examples, so many great brands that are seeing success on Instacart and leading on Instacart to help accelerate their growth, both online and offline. I think about brands like Chomps, who are driving triple-digit velocity growth. Brands like Wild Chips, who are growing sales at more than 200% year over year. or great brands like Carbone consistently outpacing their overall category growth. In fact, there's so many great brands here. We like to celebrate some of these incredible brands that stand out. In the spirit of helping consumers find new favorites and get inspired, but certainly also supporting these brands and small businesses. Every year we like to showcase 75 of the fastest growing emerging brands on Instacart. You can actually find this list at instacartbrandlist.com. Encourage all of your listeners to take a peek, and I'm sure you'll recognize many of these high-flying emerging brands. Now, that said, if I was to elaborate on one example, one great creative example that I really did love came from Olipop, which not surprisingly you'll also find on that brand list. Olipop saw the cultural moment that is Dry January as an opportunity to promote their soda and capture customers looking for non-alcoholic alternatives to their favorite cocktails. And so, they launched what they called a Mocktails in Minutes campaign. This occurred across Instacart, but also across several other social media channels as well, utilizing some clever copy around their sodas during this dry January time of year. The campaigns ran original display creative with some of this messaging. They also created a custom landing page that they featured what they called I believe it was a virtual soda sommelier, which is really fun. Then they actually complemented that with a promotion which they ran on Instacart at the same time for their the single serve cans during each of the 4 weekends in January. So use this to drive trial, to convert some of those maybe sober curious customers into new brand customers, while also rewarding some of their loyal longtime customers. Now, what's amazing here is, Olipop's actually saw their singles sales grow every successive weekend over the course of this 4-week campaign.
Wow.
And by the last weekend, their sales were actually 50% higher than the weekend before they started. And, and beyond that, more importantly for Olipop and so many emerging brands, they saw their customer count increase by almost 60% during that dry January period. So, cool. A super exciting, a fun and successful campaign that leveraged many of the tools that are available to emerging brands on Instacart.
Very, very cool. And just as a follow-up to that, do you need to have a lot of distribution to be able to do that type of campaign, or is it okay if maybe you're not, you're in a few thousand stores?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's one of the exciting things about Instacart for so many brands is, again, whether you're in 100 stores or 1,000 stores, all of these solutions are available to you as a brand, and they're all available in a self-service capacity with no minimum budget, but the opportunity to scale up as well as scale down. So all of our ad units are retail aware, meaning those ads, whether they're the shoppable display or the sponsored product or promotions ads, they're only going to serve in retail locations within the marketplace where you're available, when you're available. Which allows brands large and small to do really creative things to help drive that consideration, drive awareness, drive sales.
Yeah, no, that's one big one that that I learned a while ago, that you're not advertising in places where you cannot be bought, and for a lot of us that's really important, because it's not just when I talk about that shoppable display or the video. The only people that are going to see that are the people who have the opportunity to actually buy the sauce, which is a big deal for me.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a big deal for us as well. For us, that is a differentiator. Yeah. And it's certainly one that we're continuing to build on. Actually, you may have seen, more recently we announced some additional capabilities that enable brands to serve ads to Instacart consumers outside of Instacart. through partnerships with platforms like the Trade Desk, Google, and YouTube. Just recently. So, it's exciting. These brands get the opportunity to reach these very valuable customers, these, big basket weekly shoppers outside of Instacart. But perhaps what's, even more exciting for some of these brands using these very large platforms is because they're partnering with Instacart, we're able to serve these ads in a retail aware platform. But in a retail aware way, meaning we're serving the ads only in the geographies, only to the customers where they've got the ability to have those items delivered to the front door, in as quick as an hour or less.
It's awesome. That's a great way to end it. Graham, thank you so much for coming on and breaking this down. I think it's obvious. I'm a big fan. I don't think that brands our size should be spending, much more on top of funnel stuff than just the very, very bare minimum. We should be focused on where people are grocery shopping, whether that's in store or on Instacart. And so this is just like really cool because there's a lot of things that we can do and a lot of help for emerging brands through the platform. So thank you. Thank Instacart. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ali. It's a really great conversation. And again, we're passionate about emerging brands. We like to say our mission at Instacart is to create a world where everyone has access to the food that they love and more time to enjoy it together. And certainly, we know our consumers love discovering emerging brands, and emerging brands tend to resonate with their values. And so we're committed to providing solutions and a platform that helps fuel their growth.
Amazing. Thank you. Liam, thank you as always for engineering today's show, and to Heritage Radio Network for making this possible. And listeners, thank you. Sorry I missed a week. Thanks for checking in. And I will be back next week with another episode of In the Sauce. In the Sauce is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.